Generating traffic and sales can be a challenge for online merchants. But selling on the Walmart Marketplace puts your products in front of millions of customers who shop on Walmart.com. And right now, sellers who join Walmart Marketplace can save up to 50% on referral and fulfillment fees for the first 90 days. So get started today. Head over to marketplace.walmart.com/savings. That's marketplace.walmart.com/savings.
Welcome to E-Commerce Conversations, a podcast by Practical E-Commerce.
What is going on, Internet? Eric Van Holt's back again with another E-Commerce Conversations. I hope all is going well on the other side of the Internet. On the other side of the table from me, Tyler.
What's up, everybody? My name is Tyler Tabman, CEO of PeachyBbies Slime Company. Yeah, really excited to be here, Eric. This is, yeah.
We're talking slime, man. I have so many fond memories of my youth with slime, like a Slimer.
What was it called back when you were a kid? Where you were like one of the GAC?
Yeah, so I watched Nickelodeon, and I forget the name of that host. But anyways, there's they would get slimed.
Yep.
They would get slimed with GAC. Is that what?
No. So GAC was the more commercial product. I don't know when exactly, 80s, 90s. But a lot of time when I'm just interviewing people or talk about it, they're like, oh, slime. So they'll say one of two things. They're like, oh, you mean like Nickelodeon? Or they'll be like, oh, yeah, I used to play with that, like GAC. So those are kind of the two main references that I get. Nickelodeon isn't really a consumer product like the slime they use. That's just stuff you pour on people. Yeah. But the consumer product was GAC.
Yeah. So I remember, as a kid that, and I bought a Christmas gift for someone, and it had it was almost like a splatter shape plastic tube, and you could push it to make fart noises out of it. And
I think that was Flarp, I want to say.
I think it was, I don't know what the product name was, man. I was 12 years old at the time, and just remember, it's crazy how I guess it's become popular again, and it's probably entirely from social media, right?
Yeah, no, it's definitely had its waves. So slime had a huge blow up in 2017 where most people kind of learned for the first time that you can actually make slime at home just using, laundry detergent and glue, just basic household items. And so that's when everyone started really experimenting with, okay, we can add this to it. We can add different colors, scents, whatever. And then it was such a new market at the time that everyone was discovering new recipes, different textures that became kind of the standard for years to come. So it was actually at the time, you could actually still look up articles. It might be late 2016 or early 2017 where glue, there's a national shortage where just all the shelves were gone because everyone was experimenting. And everyone was making Instagram accounts and going viral. So yeah, the slime was huge back in 2017. And then over the next 2 years or so, it started to kind of see a lull in popularity where the standard at that time was more like ASMR, long form, 10-minute YouTube videos, relaxing videos. And as that demographic of people who were really into it kind of aged out of it, it just started to really decrease in popularity. It was more of a trend at the time. And then, 2019, slime overall took a pretty big hit. And with the pandemic, TikTok, and overall just short form content, because you can even see it on YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, short form is everywhere now. It's not just TikTok, but it's seen a massive resurgence. Slime is definitely back in the game, maybe even bigger than before.
So when did you guys launch? Did you start with social media? Was that kind of how you guys started? Was just grabbing some detergent and glue and doing it like everyone else, or?
Yeah, so there was 2 launches. Andrea initially started the company back in 2017, just kind of starting outside of her house with her family members, selling small amounts. And she had a YouTube channel back then, Andrea X Andrea. So yeah, just kind of experimenting with recipes she'd found online. And she actually did create some recipes herself. What's popular known as jelly slime. I believe she was the inventor of that initially. So let's see. Sorry, what was the question?
Yeah, so she started 2017. She started with a YouTube channel. Was it
yes.
ASMR long form?
Yes. So her Andrea X Andrea channel was more challenges, I don't know, fix this slime while blindfolded, things like that. And then the company page, PeachyBbies, was more here's what we're selling this week and some ASMR showing off the slimes that are being sold. So yeah, that was the main driver. Just started off with Instagram and YouTube. And then, yeah, that really continued for the entire time. And then I came on board late 2019 when we relaunched the company. And we, again, just started. We didn't even do YouTube at that time because it had kind of been inactive for 6-12 months. The views were not worth the time it was taking to edit the videos. It would take Andrea, 2-3 days between filming and editing for a 10-minute video. Yeah. And in that same time, we could post a few Instagrams. So we started off just purely on Instagram in late 2019 and did only that. We did a handful of YouTube videos, but they were far and few in between. So our main driving platform up until we started posting on TikTok regularly in mid 2020. So for that 6-month period, it was almost exclusively Instagram.
Now, when you came on board, what was the company like? Was it just her working on it and just kind of like a side hobby, or was there any kind of infrastructure and any kind of scale built up at that point?
Yeah. So early 2019, she had actually just completely shut the company down. It was making basically no money. She wasn't really sure what to do next. So, and it wasn't worth the time to keep promoting it and keep making the product for a small amount of sales. So it shut down. And at that time, I was also looking for something else to do with my life.
How did y'all meet?
We met online. And so she had been kind of figuring out what to do with YouTube as well. So the company had been shut down and YouTube views were kind of going down. And before that, I was actually a professional poker player. And I was kind of getting sick of doing that. So we're kind of thinking, all right, what's the next moves? What's the next step for both of us? And we actually had went to, at the time, there was like slime events where you can meet other influencers, see other brands. And I kept thinking, like, I feel like there's still opportunity in this market. If we kind of, I guess, commercialize it a bit more is the way to put it. I don't know if that's the right word, but I just felt like with the right infrastructure, the right moves, there was still opportunity here. So yeah, made an investment in the company and we became 50-50 partners. Redid the website, logo, branding, bought new machinery, redid the packaging. And then I guess the initial intention wasn't to scale, but that was kind of, I was able to help implement that because when they were first running as just like, small family company, they weren't really hiring. So whatever they sold, like that would just be what they would continue to sell. And then when we started it after I was like, okay, like we're getting these sales, let's hire. So I had to learn how to hire. Never hired someone in my life. And then we had to hire again. We got a warehouse.
So I feel like you guys are doing it kind of the hard way, but it's also the way that makes you guys unique because you're manufacturing your product in-house, right?
Yes.
And also doing
manufactured in-house.
Your own 3PL, which I guess is your your 1PL. So you're filming it, which gives you a competitive advantage because I would imagine most slime companies are working with contract manufacturers, right?
No, none of them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no, it's just, so there's a few reasons. I mean, you would have to teach the contract manufacturers essentially how to make these products. And it takes a while to learn all of the nuances. And it's very susceptible to just changes, whether just the weather, if it's hotter, things will melt quicker and you have to reactivate the slime. Sometimes it just ends up like maybe a little too watery, a little too stiff. So it's not that, someone can't learn a contract manufacturer, but you'd effectively be like placing your own slime chef there and training them and managing them remotely. So it doesn't become as offhand as you'd like it to be in a standard manufacturing process. Additionally, all of us are run by social media. So if you outsource the manufacturing, you have nothing to film.
Right.
You've lost your main marketing funnel.
Well, not only that, like your strategy is built around like limited edition drops, right? You're not doing this mass-produced, shelf-stable, buy it in 50,000 store kind of strategy.
Yes. I mean, it's not necessarily centered around the idea of exclusivity, but to your point, the shelf stability of it, like we can't just have it sit in a hot warehouse for a year and then be sold in Target. It just doesn't work like that. So there is a certain component where you have to, whatever we make, we want to sell within, a month or two. And the shelf life is a little bit more nuanced than that. So I'm not just saying it goes bad after that amount of time, but you don't want to just let it sit. So yes, there's the ability to always keep things fresh and new by offering new SKUs and new varieties basically every single week or every other week. Or not every slime store does like weekly drops. Some of them will do a restock, let's say once a month or every 2 weeks, but we all operate under the model of like restocks one way or another.
Yeah. When you say, it sounds like there's a fairly large industry of I would call them small slime companies. Like they're all probably doing 7 figures, maybe 8 figures on the big size, or even smaller than that, just kind of mom and pop.
I'd say smaller than that.
Yeah. So mostly in like that 6-figure range. And then, so like you guys who are listening to this, like take note and check out their TikTok, check out their YouTube shorts. They're getting unbelievable amounts of views. Like almost every video is getting 250,000 views, with some of them getting 10 million and up. Are you seeing a direct correlation? I guess, is that entirely your marketing efforts, or are there any other marketing strategies?
As in paid search or SEO, things like that. No, social media is 100% of our marketing. We don't do any SEO. We don't do any paid marketing.
What is the content strategy to be able to drive the type of revenue you're doing with the product?
So we do a views first strategy where we aim to focus on providing value to our viewers via entertainment. And our belief is the sales will come afterwards. I think a lot of companies make the mistake of trying to promote the product first and not focusing on providing value to their viewers. So that video will perform poorly, or basically it does not have the chance of virality. We try to measure things in the scope of virality. Does this have the opportunity to get millions of views? And when you just try to go for a straight product promotion, it just never will. Mm-hmm. So we try to keep things funny. We try to keep them entertaining. We try to keep up with trends, culture, and then we incorporate the product when we can. Even if it's just barely showing it, we don't even have to mention like it's this SKU or it's this type of product. We just show slime in some capacity. So what we ensure first is that we get as many eyeballs as possible, people watching the video, just being entertained. And then at least some percent of that will be like, hey, what's that they're playing with? That looks interesting. That looks fun. They'll go click on the page. They'll check out the shop, and the sales will come. So we don't really have to focus on trying to promote a specific product or making sure that we, get these key bullet points out. We just focus on making good content that entertains people.
What does your content team look like?
Yeah. So me, my partner, Andrea. So I focus more on the strategy side of things. And then Andrea does a lot of the execution and actually films everything, edits a lot of the stuff. So she makes everything for our main TikTok channel, which has 5 million followers. And then we have 2 full-time content creators, and they focus on making content for the second TikTok channel, which has 1.9 million. And then we have a YouTube account.
So those 2 creators, are they editing as well? Are they doing their own strategy as well, or?
Yeah, so they film, script write, edit, set up shoots. They do it all themselves. And then we do occasionally give them some ideas, or they come back to us and say, hey, here's the video, like what could we change? But for a lot of the part, they're kind of doing their own thing.
And then, so how much content are you uploading on a regular basis? You have these 2 TikTok channels. And then I guess 2-part question. Why 2 TikTok channels instead of just 1?
Yeah. So you want to expand your reach, and you always want to de-leverage risk. So if an account somehow gets banned or gets shut off for a week, you want to make sure there's multiple. And then as far as how much content we're producing, so the main TikTok channel, which was mainly just Andrea, we'll post probably, we try to get once a day, but it ends up being closer to 5 or 6 times a week on average. Then the backup channel, or just the second channel, we post twice a day on there every single day. So 14 TikToks a day on there, and about 14 a week, and then about 6 a week on the main. And then on YouTube, we post, it's a conglomerate of both of those into one channel. And we have 1.5 million on YouTube, and we just upload everything as shorts. So we post on there twice a day, except Fridays and Saturdays, we post 3 times a day.
Are you able to tell if people are coming in through YouTube or TikTok? Do you see any kind of difference? Or Instagram, I guess?
No, I have no idea. I mean, Shopify does have some form of tracking. When I look at it, it doesn't look right. So I haven't really paid much attention to it.
Yeah, you should do, I use this app called Grapevine. There's a couple other alternatives as well. You can do a post-purchase survey and ask if they found you on TikTok, Instagram, or YouTube. Those are your 3 platforms?
Yes.
Okay. How, I guess your other problem is you're always sold out, right? Or every time I go to the website, you're sold out.
Yes.
So I imagine you're driving a lot of people into your email flow. Is that a strong acquisition channel for you? And do you have flows built out for that? Or
we don't have any flows built out. We just, a very, very simple strategy. Once a week, we blast the whole list, say, and we're like, 30 minutes, an hour before the restock saying we're restocked. Because I do probably at least need a post-purchase flow, just giving them some additional information, whatnot. But as far as other flows, there's nothing in stock to flow them to. So I recognize that at some point we will need flows built out when stock is available more readily. But yeah, the email definitely drives a lot of traffic. We actually noticed this about 3 weeks ago. The sales for that restock were just like pretty significantly lower than normal. And everything did sell eventually within about 30 minutes or so. But we were noticing like, where's the traffic? Where's the sales? And I'm like, I forgot to send the email. Oh my gosh. And then it just hit me like, man, the email is quite important.
Yeah. Do y'all do SMS as well, or just email?
We don't. When I was discussing this a few weeks ago when we were at the ecom meetup with someone, where the reason we don't do SMS is because it's actually quite expensive.
Mm-hmm.
So like our email marketing is maybe $2,000 a month. And at a point, I was actually thinking of even turning that off because I'm like, well, if we're selling out anyway, it feels like we're just giving away the money. But I'm like, at the very least, we'll keep on the email marketing. But the SMS, collecting a decent size, it could, run 5, 6, up to 10K, depending on how many you collect. And so once again, I felt like if we were continuing to sell out, it'd be a waste of money. But I realized I could at least collect the SMS. So even if I don't send them out, I'm starting to collect SMS now. And I think that'll be a huge driver for us going forward once we're able to remediate the supply chain issue.
What are your supply chain issues? Is it just like
it's literally just labor.
Just labor?
Yeah.
So you can't find the talent here in town, or?
No, well, it was space plus labor. I guess we didn't have the space to have people in it. So now that we're moved, but we just moved in 3 weeks ago. So we have been actively like nonstop interviewing. And then, we did hire like another 5 or so people the past 2 weeks. So we'd have to onboard them and then train them. So it'll be like a gradual process over the next 2 months or so as we steadily increase our production.
Yeah. How does it look like transitioning from, kind of a small mom and pop shop, for lack of better terms, to the scale? I mean, how big's your team now?
Yeah. So I think like 30, 32, 35 people, somewhere in that range. But there's a decent amount of part-time employees as well. And we just recently opened weekend shifts to increase our processing time. So a lot of those people only work those 2 days. So that like increases the amount of employees, but not necessarily like the total aggregate work hours.
So are you guys like producing all the product and then building up a small inventory while you're quote unquote still sold out, and then you have your launch? Or is it you launch something, you get all the orders, and then you produce it all and ship it out the door?
So in the past, we know basically like with this many people, we can, produce this many slimes and ship it out. So what we would do is just kind of like create a list of, here's what I think we could handle. And we would list it all on the website Friday. And then that week we would start packaging everything up, shipping it out. And, because we restock on Fridays, so it would often take until Thursday or Friday till everything gets shipped out. And then we start again. The processing time was just too long. So we went with a new strategy, which also allowed us to open up the weekend shifts, which we'll get into in a second, where now my goal is if it's not fully packaged and ready to go on Friday, I don't list it. So this really helps control flow a lot better because we're having some issues with inventory as well, where we have, hundreds of different sprinkles and charms and glitters and toppings, just small things. It's like you can't really scan a barcode on these things. So it's hard to keep track of exactly what quantity unless you just weigh every single thing like constantly.
And that slows things down.
Yes. So we'd have an issue sometimes where it's like, oh, we sold these, but we're out of this particular pigment or the scent. So we have to wait a few days to get it in, and it would cause issues. So this helps with that as well. But yeah, so now our strategy is, throughout the week, we package as many slimes as we can, put it on the shelves, and then we list them all. And then going forward, there are some SKUs that can last a particularly long time on the shelf, like 4+ months. So I want to start kind of loading up on those so we can control how much we list every week instead of just being at the mercy of what we can particularly make right now.
Do you think there's any other opportunities for products, or do you have plans for products beyond the slime that might help kind of have something in stock while people wait for it?
Yeah, I mean, there's opportunities for, I don't know. I mean, fidget toys is probably the most clear crossover, where that's kind of what people do with slime. They fidget with it, play with it, and it's an easy thing that we can purchase and not necessarily have to manufacture. So that's something we're definitely considering adding to the shop. We have ideas of starting other companies, for example, maybe like a candle company. I don't know if I would offer that necessarily in the same store. Yeah, well, I guess.
I was thinking like, what would be cool accessory is like different shape containers. So like you have your typical cylinder one, right? But what if you played around with like different designs that were, I don't know, injected molded plastic or whatever, or glass or ceramic or something where you could just interact with the slime in a different way?
So that is an interesting idea. And I guess a few takeaways is the packaging, making sure like if it's ceramic, we'd have to really make sure it doesn't break.
Right.
We have to test that how the slime interacts with it. For example, our jars are polypropylene, I think it's pronounced. And the normal plastic, like what many companies use, is PET. I don't know what it stands for.
Ethylene, I think.
Yeah. But so we cannot use PET because the slime sticks to it, like excessively sticks to it. So it's difficult to get out of the container. A lot of it is just stuck in there. So we have to use polypropylene. So that's just another factor we have to consider when using different materials. And then also there's the markup, because we are able to buy these plastic containers at scale. They're relatively cheap.
Right.
So if we have to buy just 1,000 units compared to 50,000 units of this other container, not only is it more expensive, but we're getting way less scale. So it could be an extra $3. Are people going to pay that for a different container? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's always a question with any product, right?
Yeah.
Like the $1 million question. If we knew people would pay for things, we would just go and do it or not do it.
For sure.
I think, like, are most of your customers like repeat customers, or do they tend to just like have an impulse buy, see the videos one time, they buy it once, and then they kind of...
So I think our numbers right now are, pretty skewed, because the only people who are purchasing are those who are setting their timers and showing up on the website at exactly 7 p.m., meaning that everyone who's able to buy is more or less like a little bit of a dedicated fan. So we do have a pretty high returning customer rate at the moment. I don't know if that will, like, if we manage to keep inventory Saturday, Sunday, Monday, people can just kind of see our videos, trickle in, just casually shop. I think that will go down. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing necessarily. I mean, it shows that we have a engaged, like, loyal following, which is good.
I mean, I'm just like, I was talking about repeat customers versus new customers. Right. I think it's kind of interesting, like how much, as a non-customer, it's like how much slime do people really need? But I guess because you're mixing in sprinkles and stuff like that, like does.
Yeah, I could definitely touch on that. Yeah. Where, there's, like I said, we have a pretty high return customer rate, like over 40% at the moment. Last year, it was definitely lower, like in the 20s. But yes, is there a new reason to purchase slime consistently? And I would say yes. Slimes can go bad after a few months. They can maintain like its optimal texture, whatever, for a year or more, but they can go bad after a few months. But more importantly is there's always something new, like the label, the color, the scent, the add-ins, it's different themed. So even though, let's say, there's like 10 different textures of slime, so they might feel the same, but the experience is different. If I'm buying this, butter slime that's called, I don't know, squishy potatoes versus a butter slime that's like green apple. So it's definitely gives them a reason to kind of come back and shop and see what's new and exciting.
Yeah, and just like experience the texture, I guess. I guess there's a lot of people out there who are just like very texture and physical touch driven. My daughter loves them. There's just like there's slime all over the place. Like it's.
You had to buy new carpets yet?
Well, she had this pink slime that she's doing on our kitchen table, and after playing with it for a while, there's a nice pink glow to our white table. So we weren't pleased with that, but the magic eraser took care of it. So
nice. That
was a pretty good. Or are there any concerns about like allergens or, just the physical content of the product?
There are potential allergens. Some people could be allergic to lotion, but those are very, very rare as far as what I've experienced so far.
Yeah. What is your typical like customer service look like? Is it just basically, USPS lost my order? Do you have like certain that you keep back for those type of orders and customer service tickets, or?
Okay. Do we keep inventory for customer service?
I guess for like lost packages, yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. So I always do make sure to underlist everything by a few, but that's more to account for picker packer errors rather than customer service.
Okay.
So every week we compile a list on our internal documents, basically a list of slimes under 20. So those we will not list on our website. That just gets routed to our customer service representative. And then he'll normally, when there's issues, he'll kind of present them with an option like, hey, would you like a refund, or would you like us to kind of give you a random slime that we have available? And more often than not, they'll be quite happy to just take, random replacements. So that's what we'll typically do for that.
Do you see like a lot of variance in the performance of slime based on color and texture and add-in, or is it pretty much similar performance?
I don't notice based on those particular variables, but the overall theme of a slime, like how good the label looks, for example, can definitely impact it. Or just, I guess, what it represents. I mean, we released a slime recently. It's called Distresto. It has a cute label, like a little brain thinking, and it just kind of makes you think like naturally, like relax. That one in particular has been our best seller for the past 3 weeks now. Like it's selling out at like a way faster rate than the others, because I'll kind of track how quickly things sell over the first 5 minutes. And I'll notice this will go in like 4 minutes, whereas others might take 20.
Mm-hmm.
So but I wouldn't narrow that down to, oh, this is selling because it's purple or because it's a butter slime, or I actually don't know if it's a butter slime, or it has this sprinkle. But I can tell based on just like the overall theme and label, and I can tell based on that, not necessarily the other.
That's the same with us. Like, for us, it's fragrances, and the story that we have associated with the fragrance, like, is there a really compelling story that resonates with our audience versus maybe something that's more direct and tends not to do as well. So yeah. I think it's kind of like tapping into that, right?
Mm-hmm. I guess, for example, one of our other bestsellers is called Baby Axolotl. So like the little drawing is cute. They like the little baby axolotl, the axolotl charm that comes with it. They think it's cute. So the particular texture is Snow Fizz. I don't know if people buying it actually know it's a Snow Fizz prior to purchasing it, but the axolotl theme is what gets them excited about it.
Yeah, that's cool. So what is the long-term plans with the company? You talked about starting other companies. Do you think you can get PeachyBbies on autopilot, or would you hire a general manager to take it over as you work on new projects? Or is it going to just be to continue to kind of expand? Like you talked about candles, would that be under the PeachyBbies brand, or would that be a new brand?
It would probably be a new brand. We could, make a few PeachyBbies candles, offer that on the website, and kind of, so let's see. So there's a few different questions here. So let me touch on that first, the candles. For example, a lot of people always say like, oh, what is this particular scent? I love this slime. It smells amazing. So some of those we can offer candles, be like, hey, you love this slime? We'll offer this in a candle form as well. So that's something we can offer on the site on a limited basis. As to the other question, kind of what's the plan? Do we want to put on autopilot? So I see us mainly as a social media marketing company. That's kind of where our expertise is. So I would like to kind of put the production side on autopilot as much as we can. It's hard. We offer new products all the time. And that often ties into the social media strategy, like what we're offering, like what's trendy and what's popular. So we can't put the product development on autopilot necessarily. We can definitely keep the production side of things, like make that as away from us as possible so we can focus more on the marketing. And that's probably more what our long-term plan is just focus as much on the marketing side of things as possible. And then as far as what else is in our future, I guess just continuing to scale, seeing where we can go with this on the D2C route.
Yeah.
It's not really something that's viable for big box. And I have concerns about cannibalizing our sales. So I'm not sure if that's like a route we want to take for significantly less margins and a lot more work.
Do you do Amazon as well?
No. Something I'm interested in exploring. Just depends again, like how long do we have to store the items? Is it air conditioned? So there's a lot of variables in that that make it complicated.
Yeah. You know what I'm talking about.
Oh, I'm sure. As a consumer, when I see like the Amazon Prime and the shipping date, I'm like, oh, I'm going to buy that. When I don't see it, like I almost never purchase it. So I understand like the conversion's like way lower. At that point, it almost becomes not worth it.
Yeah. Cool. Where can people learn more about your company or learn more about you?
Yeah, so I mean, our social medias are on Instagram and YouTube. It's PeachyBbies. That's PeachyBbies. Our TikTok is Peachy Slime. Not much to learn on the website, but definitely we show a lot of what we do and kind of day in the life, showing off the warehouse. We show that all on our social media, so I think that's definitely the best place to keep up with us.
Well, thanks for coming by the Beard Brand office. I've enjoyed this, and hope our listeners enjoyed it as much as I did.
It was a pleasure being on, Eric. Thanks for having me, and thank you all for listening.
Yep. Cheers. Keep on growing.